Well, good morning. We're introducing to you Andrea Keller, who is Head of Jazz and Improvisation and Senior Lecturer in Music at the Victorian College of the Arts since 2021. So, welcome, Andrea.
Thank you, Mel.
What we're going to do is explore a little bit about your life in music. So, just to kick off there, tell us about your early life and your background. How did you get interested in music?
Well...
And jazz particularly.
Jazz particularly, yeah. Well, my first memory is that I wanted to be a musician, and my parents say that I hounded them for a long time for piano lessons and a piano, and eventually started and just loved it, and never imagined doing anything else. And I went when I started, I had teachers that only taught me classical music, and I went through the exam system and all of that. And I grew up in Sydney, and I was going to the Sydney Conservatorium High School. And it was when I was there, because we shared the building with all the tertiary courses, including the jazz course that Don Burrows ran at the time. And so you could just sort of walk through the corridors and hear the music. And on Wednesday afternoons, after my school finished, they would have their concert class in the Verbruggen Hall, and I'd go and sit in the back and just listen to the bands playing and getting their critique from people like Roger Frampton and Judy Bailey and all of those amazing people. Wow. And I went and actually saw Judy Bailey and Roger Frampton play a two-piano concert and was just blown away. And then I started going to places like the Soup Plus in Sydney and listening to people like Bernie McGann and Jody Bopalane and Sandy Evans and all kinds of people, and just fell in love with the music, started buying records. A lot of John Coltrane and Charlie Parker and Miles Davis and Thelonious Monk and all of that.
Did you ever get attracted to trad jazz, that thing, or did you sort of miss that?
I kind of bypassed that, The places that I was going, there wasn't that much of that sort of music, It was there was a lot of bebop and beyond, like post, and a lot of original music actually. And this was also in the kind of late 1980s in Sydney. So there was even kind of that acid jazz movement and stuff. Vince Jones would come down with his band. I remember seeing them with Doug DeVries and various people, and Paul Grabowski came down with Alan Brown and Shelley Scown once, I remember, and Gary Costello. I was just kind of chasing music, but that music was all quite original and quite contemporary. So.
Yes, it was. So because a lot of people have come up through. Most of the people I've done in interviews have been, had a trad background, and some of them have moved on, and then some of them are still, basically in that thing there. Was there any musical ability in your family? I remember you reading about you influenced by your brother.
Yeah, my older brother. So our parents didn't play music, but they both really enjoyed music, so there was always music being played. But my older brother learnt at school. He learnt brass instruments and played in the Bondi Beach Brass Band, and I used to go and just watch their rehearsals because, that was sort of the babysitting. And he started composing, and so I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. So I started composing, basically I was just copying him.
So did you have, in your musical training, when you had your diploma and that, did you actually learn composing, or was it something that you just...
Not really. When I was at the Sydney Conservatorium High School, they used to have an annual Composers' Day for the high school students, and everyone had to apply. Everyone had to submit a composition, and most people it was a bit of a chore, but I discovered that I really loved it. So, but there was no composition classes as such. I mean, we did music theory, and we analysed other people's compositions. We did a lot of that sort of work. But I was just kind of flying blind, really. And even when I went to university, there wasn't composition classes as such. I did 1 year in Wollongong, and I did have some very basic composition instruction, but beyond that, I've just been figuring it out myself.
So did your classical training help you with that composition?
Definitely, yes. Because through the classical training, I became really adept at reading music and understanding how to analyse music,
Yes.
and being able to hear and understand harmony and form and rhythmic complexities. And you know, also I think I actually really love classical music, like or music from that whole sort of
Yes.
you know space. And there's so many interesting things going on to be learnt from, plus all of the jazz stuff, and then even other music as well. So I think that breadth of and diversity of musical influences definitely helps the composition.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you've obviously succeeded. You would be what I would call a natural musician. Absolutely.
Thanks.
And how lucky you are to have that as part of what you do. So I looked about the bands and the musicians you've been associated with, and it's actually easy if you tell me the ones that you haven't been associated with, because you know you've got such a wide collaboration with so many people over the years there. So who are the ones that have really helped you on the journey, or that you like playing with?
Yep. Well, I suppose the first really important group that I had was my quartet, which started as a quintet.
Yes.
I started it in the late 1990s with some friends, really.
Yes.
Eugene Ball and Ian Whitehurst. At the time it was Matt Clohessy on the bass, who's been in the States for a very long time now, and Danny Fisher on the drums.
Yes.
And that band stayed together for a while, and then the lineup changed and it fell down to a quartet. But really Eugene and Ian were very integral and very important in my musical development, and being able to write for that band and perform, and we travelled overseas and around Australia, and you know, that was really important.
Yes.
And then the connection with Eugene led me to be invited to play with Alan Brown.
Yes.
And so I was part of his various trios for 15 years, which I was so fortunate for that mentorship. That was incredible. That's life-changing, and in fact, it was just the 10th anniversary of his passing the other day.
Yes.
And it just made me reflect on him as a person and his contribution. And
well, he was such an interesting character, because he spent his whole life pushing the boundaries, didn't he?
Yeah. And he was very diverse as a musician.
Yeah, that's right. And you had some collaboration with his poetry and the music for that. Yeah.
And even with his daughter, who's a photographer, filmmaker, Hayley Miro Brown, we've done a project together and sort of always keen to do more together. So that's been a beautiful kind of offshoot.
Yes.
The other one I'd say is Sandy Evans has been such an important mentor and also collaborator for me. And we've just started on a new project together, which I'm really excited about. And there are a lot more, of course, but you know, they'd be sort of the main ones if you're talking about people that really influenced and impacted my development.
Yes. Yeah.
Those early ones definitely, which all went for quite a long time, and then.
Yeah, that's right. Are you still expanding on what you did in your early times? If you look back on, say, where you were, say, 20 years ago.
I think so. I mean, I'm still driven by the same things. Like, I still love collaborating, I still love working with improvisers, I still love composing for improvisers in a way that's really quite open and allows us all to bring our individual voices and ideas to the music.
Yes.
Keeps it fluid and forever changing. So I'm still focused on all of those things. But my collaborators are changing, you know, which is, I think, really natural, and there's all these amazing young players coming up, and so I'm finding opportunities to collaborate with some of them, and that's really exciting too.
So how has it been for you combining a musical career with essentially an administrative role here? How do you balance that out?
Yeah, that's been tricky in that it's so easy to get overrun by the burden of administration. But I've been really lucky because I've had the Monday night residency at the Jazz Lab since it opened in mid-2017, and through that series, or that residency, I'm able to present music every week in different lineups. I can start new projects. It really kind of gives me a push to write new tunes and find new people to play with, and continually try and reinvent.
Yes.
Only slightly, but just keep things fresh. So that has been great. That has helped me kind of try and find some balance.
Yeah, it's good. So, of the people that you're coming through as graduates, what do most of them have a success in furthering their musical career?
From this course, particularly? I don't know what percentage it would be. I think definitely some of the leading Australian musicians have come through this institution. It's over 40 years old now, the Jazz and Improvisation course. And it's still, we run it now. I mean, it's obviously had some small changes, but essentially the curriculum is very, and the philosophy particularly, is how Brian Brown established it. Back in 1980, I think, was the year that it started.
Good. Do you find that being involved with Melbourne University is inhibiting in any way, or do they give you a free range?
In terms of the way the course develops?
Yeah, just your musical freedom.
I think we've still got freedom, I think the focus is always on the experience of the students.
Yes. And
making sure that we're providing a really first-class education and opportunities for them, and that the course is current and is providing them with the tools they need to actually go out into the world and try and make a living. That living is always going to be a diverse portfolio career.
That's right, exactly.
But that's what we're really focused on providing, and that's what the university supports. So
that's good. Because I know Tony spoke a little bit about he thought his time at Monash was a bit political. There was tend to be interferences that musical freedom. So it's very, very nice to realise that this wonderful institution is continuing on. And
I mean, we have a really wonderful director of the Melbourne Conservatorium of Music, and he's very supportive of what we do, and actually is often really excited to hear about what we've been up to over here. So our students put on a lot of concerts, and
that's it. So they're really being involved.
Yes.
So you've done it. So tell us about what you think the future of jazz and creative music is. Are you optimistic about it?
I'm very optimistic about the music, I think musicians and artists are always going to be striving to create very personal and interesting things. I mean, they might not strive to create interesting things, but they will be. People will be pushing boundaries, and people will be finding new things, and people will be presenting things in new ways that have never been seen before or heard before, and that's really exciting. That's never going to change. The thing that I'm not so optimistic about is the actual way the industry works, and the way that the art and the musicians or artists are being supported by society. That is not so great.
It's not high on government's priorities.
No, it's not, and it can be really deflating.
I was comparing it when I was thinking about it with when I was at the height of the jazz, the trad revival of the late 50s and early 60s, before the Beatles came along and rock changed it, where that was the music of the younger generation, and every pub and all the jazz clubs were thriving all over Melbourne. It was a boom time for those people. But Alan Brown talks about playing 7 days a week, all that sort of thing there. So music is essentially going to be, jazz is as a niche. It's going to remain a niche market. But in that niche market, it's going to survive very, very well.
I'd say so. I mean, the thing about jazz is there's all these passionate people, and they're not always the players of the music, but there's a lot of passionate people that find ways of supporting the music and keeping it going, and that's so important. And I think, there's always going to be people that really deeply love the music, thankfully.
Are you receiving donations to to make scholarships for people available?
We would happily receive donations for
Yes.
scholarships, yes. We don't have that many at the moment, we do have a few.
Yes. I know there was one from Graham Coyle's family
Yes.
for piano.
Yeah, that's right, there still is
That was
actually.
one there that,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
we had I had a bit to do with
Oh, wonderful.
and coming here. I suggested that that's where it should come. So that
It's
was,
actually, it's so meaningful for the students, like it's incredibly meaningful. It
Yeah.
can change their lives. In a
yeah,
very
that's right. It
positive
could be. It's really good. Now, I want to talk a little bit about your interest in women's in jazz because it's obviously one of your great passions. So, tell us about how you got started with it. There was the Girls Do Jazz 2007.
Yep. Well, so Sandy Evans had set up the Young Women in Jazz in Sydney
Yes.
and through SEMA. So she'd set up those workshops, and then one year, I think it was around 2002 or something, I got invited up to be part of one of the workshops, or I think I was going to be in Sydney anyway, and Sandy invited me to come. And that was really great. And then simultaneously in Melbourne, Martin Jackson and the Melbourne Jazz Co-op had in 1997 set up the Melbourne Women's International Jazz Festival.
Yes.
And then a few years later, you might know the date, but I don't, Sonia Horbelt got very involved in that festival.
Yes.
And started like a similar young women's jazz program.
Yes.
Eventually, at around 2007, I think, it got called Girls Do Jazz.
Yes.
And it ran maybe for a couple of years. It was really great. So it was a little bit sporadic, but it was still really great. But then it just lost its funding.
Yeah.
And then when I came onto staff, before I was head of jazz and improv, I just came on as a lecturer in... I'd been teaching here since the 90s, but I actually came onto staff in mid-2017. It was the first thing I did was to set up a Girls Do Jazz program here. And it's eventually, we've changed the name to Gender Defying Jazz.
Yes.
So they're workshops that we run in November, December for female identifying and gender diverse people who are really interested in trying jazz and improvisation. And it's really fun. I also run an ensemble in here in the course that's for our students because still women and gender diverse people are very much the minority, especially as instrumentalists.
Yeah.
So they're very much in the minority in our cohort. So I run an ensemble where a lot of those students join the ensemble, and it's a beautiful community.
Yes.
Of support.
So what percentage of your students would identify as male and female?
About 25% are female.
Female.
It's
okay,
come up
good.
from
Yeah.
21%.
Yeah, because it's always interesting to me that looking back in the days that they never had, in the big band era and all that, you never ever saw a woman playing in the band. They were only the vocals.
That's right.
It was like this idea that women can't possibly do this, but of course they can.
Yeah.
And it's terrific. So you're really leading the charge, aren't you?
Well, the experience that I had growing up, because when I got interested in jazz in Sydney, I joined the Sydney Youth Orchestra Jazz Band. And I used to sort of marvel at, I don't know if you know Phil Slater, the great trumpeter and composer, but he was in the band as well. We were teenagers together. He was travelling down from Wollongong every Saturday to play in the band. And I used to marvel at the sort of confidence of these young guys and how they just play solos, and they were sounding so great and getting better and better, and I didn't have the same feeling. I just felt like I wanted to hide away, and and then it wasn't until I was quite a bit older that I realised it's quite a gendered experience as a teenager.
Yeah.
Young guys just seem to go for it, and the girls are like too self-conscious.
Yeah.
So anyway, this idea of creating a safe space where particularly young women can come and try things out without having that pressure.
Yeah.
That's the idea of it. So give them confidence and build them up and give them some skills so that they can go and join the bands where they only form 25% of it.
Well, that's the indication of bits and pieces. Now, tell me about how you got started forming the Bennett's Lane Big Band.
Oh yeah. Well, that actually started back when, so Alan Brown had the Monday night residency at Bennett's Lane for 20 years or so. But when he got really ill and had to take some time off, myself and Eugene Ball and Nick Haywood had been a long time collaborator of Alan's, as had Eugene. The three of us with Michael Tortoni started talking about getting a big band, like a contemporary big band that plays compositions of the locals, essentially. And so Michael was in full support of that, so we started that the first Monday of every month, and it ran for 13 years, I think. Even when Alan had his miraculous operation and recovery and came back, we still had that.
So who wrote all the charts?
It was people in the band, so I wrote some, Eugene wrote some, Nick wrote some, Adam Simmons was in the band, he wrote some, a lot of other people, Julian Wilson, Tim Wilson, a lot of other people.
Yeah, it was really good. And how long did that residency go for?
That was 13 years, I
13
believe.
years,
Yeah.
well that's incredible, isn't it, to be able to do it?
Yeah.
I hadn't realised that Alan was part of that there, but that was really good. So, let's now move on to your Monday night at the Jazz Lab, because this is, we've talked a little bit about it, but just expand to what the freedom it's done and some of the people that you've played with there.
Well, after Alan passed away, because I'd been playing in trio with him.
Yes.
And actually his was the only trio I played in. All the other bands I played in were kind of slightly odd instrumentations and all of that. And so then I was having a conversation with someone, and it was like, what are you going to do now for trio playing? And so I started this idea of the transients trios. And because I thought I can't just pick one trio, I can't just pick two people and just be in a trio with them. It just sort of didn't feel like I was ready for something like that. So I started this idea of the transients. And anyway, so I got together all of these different little trios, and we played my music and their music, and it's just sort of grown over the years. And so although the Monday night isn't exclusively the transients, it is a lot about the transients and that philosophy of just bringing people together to play our tunes and to get really, to make our Australian jazz repertoire kind of the repertoire.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Oh.
I mean, I love the American songbook, and I love the contemporary stuff that's coming out of American musicians as well, but I really am quite passionate about celebrating Australian music.
Yeah, I think that's terrific, just the body of work that you're producing. Are you recording any of it?
Yes, well, quite a few of those ensembles that were formed as part of that Monday night residency we've recorded live. Five Below was one. The Composers Circle was another. A band that I had with Steve Grant, Patsy, was another, and some of the Transients trios, that was another one. Then some of the bands that have grown out of that, we've actually then gone into the studio to record. So yes, have been documenting it, but lots of really amazing people. I do a lot of them with Sam Anning and Stephen Magnuson and Angela Davis.
Yes, that's really good.
Yeah, lots.
Now tell us about the success you've had with the ARIA Awards, because you've won 3. Yep. And certainly been nominated for more than that. But just talk about those the 3 ARIA albums that you did.
Okay. Well, the first one, it was my first album. It was 13 sketches with the Andrea Keller Quintet that I mentioned. And that was in 2002. And that was a real shock to win that. I was actually overseas at the time, and someone emailed me to let me know. But that was actually incredible, because that was like I just recorded this album and put it out, Newmarket distributed it, and it was quite kind of, it was a bit of a dream that would win an ARIA. But it was amazing, the impact of that and gigs that came from that, or festival offers, or just, it was really great. It was really great, especially because it was all original music. And it wasn't your standard swing. You know, it was kind of pushing the edges of what you might call jazz. So the fact that it won the the aria for jazz was quite incredible. And then the second one was actually the next year, the Bartok project, which again was I'd arranged 17 of Bartok's Microcosmos, which are solo piano pieces,
Yes.
for an improvising quintet.
Yes.
So that was really incredible, that, you know, to have that. I wasn't expecting that. And then I did get nominated the next year with Angels and Rascals, but it didn't win, so I didn't get the hat trick. But then years later, when I put out a solo piano album, the Wayne Shorter project.
That was Footprints.
Yeah, that was Footprints, so that one. So that was also quite incredible for a few reasons. It won the ARIA just, I think, 4 days before I gave birth to my second child. So I couldn't actually go up to Sydney because I couldn't get on a plane anymore. And also that it was for a solo album and playing the music of Wayne Shorter, which, you know, again, I'd sort of interpreted his music.
Yes, I did read that somewhere. That was called the Wayne Shorter Project, wasn't it? I think you did.
Yeah.
It is. It's really good. Tell me, with the virtual demise of CDs, what effect is just downloadable music having now?
Well, I suppose the positive of it is that it's available, music's available and it can get out there. The difficulty is that there's an abundance of it, so how do people find your music?
Yes.
And you know, the whole marketing thing is like, that's a whole other profession. Like, if you're going to have time to create music, and how do you have time to do that? But it's also, it's definitely taken away some revenue in that.
Yes. The only people who are making it are people like Spotify.
Yeah, that's right. And that's noticeable. But still, I still print a few CDs because there are still people that collect them. Exactly,
that's exactly what we try to do too, to have those. The quality of the MP3s is probably not as good as, you know.
Sure.
You know, listen, people are having not audio files and just listening to with the headphones and, you know, reverence and all that sort of thing with it. It does create a problem for us as recording and archiving music, because you've got this challenge of recording and archiving music that doesn't have a physical form. And it can be deleted at the drop of a computer key. So that's...
Well, the other thing for me is that when I compose for an album and I'm conceptualising what the album's going to be, who's going to be on it, how the music's going to flow, I'm actually thinking of the whole, you know, whether it's 45 to 60 minutes or whatever, I'm thinking of the whole thing. But then I realise no one's really listening to it that way anymore.
No, they're not.
They're listening to it in chopped up orders. And, you know.
That's right. They do it in different things, and they take little grabs on it and all the rest of it, isn't it? Now, I had a look at some of your wonderful YouTube clips, very varied, and the one I liked was the one that you did was Tim Wilson or Julian? Tim.
Could have been Tim.
The duo.
Yes, the duo's with
Duo
Tim.
one there. And that was a very interesting time. I was trying to work out what tempo you were playing there.
Oh, like what time signature?
Yeah.
I think, I can't remember the exact video that you might be talking about, but on that album, and I think it is one of the ones that Tim has published, it might be in 5.
Yeah.
It might even change a bit. It might have some, it'd be a bit in 5 and then, I'd have to go and have a look at it again. But
very hard to just fascinating to watch just the interplay between the two of you.
Yeah.
And it's there with them. There's, I'll just check my notes here. There's a couple others I was going to ask you about here. The other person that you're involved with here is Matt Jodrell, isn't it?
Yes.
Matt's on staff here?
Absolutely, he is, Yeah, he's a wonderful trumpeter and composer and band leader.
Yeah. And you spoke about Sam Manning before there. You're part of his septet.
Yeah. Yep.
So who else is in the septet?
Matt Jodrell's in it.
Yes.
And Theo Carbo on guitar, young guitarist. Kiri Anderson on the drums. Sam's obviously on the bass, Julian Wilson, and Carl Mackey on saxophones.
Right.
Yeah,
What
that's
a
amazing
what
band.
a sound there. So thanks very much for the time. It's
Thank
been
you.
really great fun talking to you.
Thanks, I've enjoyed it too. Please thank Julian Wilson.